Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Monday, April 25th, and we are talking right now with SBR contributing baseball analyst Ian Cameron. We're going to take a look at the overnight lines for the games of Tuesday, April 26th. Ian Cameron, thanks for being with us on the Tuesday card. A lot of big-name pitchers starting, right? Chris Sale is starting, Odorizzi starting, Cueto, Kershaw starting. Let's start with that one, right? Clayton Kershaw, undeniably awesome, but if you want to take him on the overnight line, you're laying anywhere from minus 280 to minus 300. Ian Cameron, is that something you're going to be doing, or are you going to be passing on that side there?
Yeah, that's obviously priced like you've got to bet on Clayton Kershaw in this game, and the betting markets are well aware, or the odds makers rather, well aware of that. No bargains at all to support the Dodgers in this one. Minus 290, minus 300, a huge favorite price for LA in this particular matchup. But I'm not going to be rushing to bet Miami, that's for sure. I've got my issues right now with Tom Kohler. He's gotten off to a bit of a slow start this season, a 4.8 ERA through 3 starts, 19 hits allowed. In 15 innings, that 7 walks to 12 strikeouts ratio doesn't exactly excite me either. Control, a little bit of an issue for him. That whip is pretty high at 1.73. That's not something you like to see either. You know, last year actually in 2 starts against the Dodgers, Kohler did all right. He allowed 3 runs in 13 innings in 2 starts combined against the Dodgers. But I've got a little issues with his current form, and I usually value current form over a past history that a starter has against a specific team. You know, Clayton Kershaw, on the other hand, another fantastic outing last time out at Atlanta, 1 run allowed in 8 innings. You know, a very good track record against Miami. The Dodgers are 4-1 in Clayton Kershaw's last 5 starts against Miami. It's also worth noting the Dodgers have decided to rest Chase Utley and Adrian Gonzalez in the opening game on Monday night in this series. So you would expect both of those guys to be back in on Tuesday, just giving them a rest, you know, older players, you know, a long taxing series in Colorado, long games, lots of runs there. So maybe a chance to just give those guys a chance to exhale and a night off to catch their breath. So I'd expect them back in on Tuesday. You know, obviously the bargain is not there to support the Dodgers, but Miami's not particularly a team I look at here in this particular matchup that is a live underdog to me.
All right, and then let's talk about the other one that I mentioned, Chris Sale and R.A. Dickey. And this is an interesting line that I'm sure a lot of people are scratching their heads about and maybe thinking about what they want to do. Obviously, Chris Sale, not quite at Clayton Kershaw's level, but definitely an awesome starter. And last year, he faced the awesome Toronto lineup once. It was at home, but he had a good game. It was a complete game, 9 innings, gave up 2 solo shots, but that was it. Struck out 6. And it's a very low line for him. White Sox at Toronto, minus 120 to minus 125. And, of course, R.A. Dickey on the other side. We kind of always know what we're going to get with him. You know, basically sort of serviceable, but always vulnerable, always very vulnerable. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be tempted to take a shot with the White Sox with Sale at just minus 120 or 125. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, I would lean to the White Sox in this game. Now, the conundrum that I have here, Pete, with this one is Chris Sale has good numbers against Toronto since 2013. 3 starts against the Jays, 3 runs or less allowed in all 3 of those starts. The Jays do have a very good track record with this current team and this lineup against left-handed pitching. We saw it on display last season. We saw it on display yesterday against Surkamp of the Oakland Athletics, and the Jays pretty much roughed him up pretty good in that start. But Sale is an elite lefty, he's an elite pitcher, and maybe his chance still to neutralize this Toronto lineup. So it's interesting to see how this one fares. You know, I would think Sale has a chance to start pretty well against the Jays in this game, but you can't forget the fact that Jays have matched up very well with their lineup that is just absolutely mashed at times against lefties. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But as for R.A. Dickey, he's not a guy I trust right now, Peter, not one bit. He's struggled out of the gate here in his first 4 starts. You know, he's faced a pretty tough slate, faced Boston twice and Baltimore, some pretty good lineups there, but it still doesn't sugarcoat the fact it's been a rough go of it for Dickey so far this season. 6.1 ERA, 14 runs, 25 hits allowed in 20 innings of work, 10 walks, 19 strikeouts. And it's funny, Buck Martinez does the Blue Jays television play-by-play here locally for their games. And he was saying in one start, I think it was the Boston one where he really got hit hard, this is the best knuckleball I've seen from R.A. Dickey in a long, long time. Really, Buck? Really? You're going to say something like that? I mean, to me, I don't care how the knuckleball, Peter, is spinning out of his hand or how it dips and dives toward home plate. I care are you getting the batter out. And he's not getting the batters out right now for the Toronto Blue Jays. Plain and simple. So I don't want to hear any nonsense about, oh, the knuckleball. It's dancing. It's moving around pretty good. He's not getting batters out at a good enough rate right now. That to me is what makes a good knuckleballer. You're getting the hitter out. He's not doing it right now at a consistent rate. He's a guy I don't trust, and I absolutely would lean to the White Sox here to pick up the victory. Again, concerned with the Jays' track record against lefties, but Chris Sale ain't your average lefty.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. And then going to the other end of the spectrum, starters who are really struggling big time. Let's talk about St. Louis at Arizona with Shelby Miller. This guy having all kinds of problems. His last starts have been wacky, terrible. He's walking a ton of guys. His arm is hitting the ground when he's pitching. I mean, it's just a complete disaster. How much is he going to be able to fix it here against a pretty decent lineup at home in a pretty hitter-friendly park? Line is not too huge. Carlos Martinez on the other side for St. Louis has been excellent in general. The line right now is St. Louis minus 130 up to about minus 137. I'm guessing this line, just based on Miller, will take public action, and that it'll get bet higher unless the sharps come in on Arizona. Is there any reason to expect Arizona to have value here, or is it Miller an auto fade until further notice?
You know what? I took a shot in with Shelby Miller in his last start against San Francisco, a good underdog price, and boy, it was an ugly go of it for Shelby Miller in that particular game. I mean, boy, it turned into a walkathon basically by the fourth inning, and not the good kind for Shelby Miller. I mean, he was just base on ball after base on ball. Command and control was all over the place. Couldn't find the strike zone. It was just a rough go of it. Once again for Shelby Miller, more of the same from him in that start against the San Francisco Giants. So I'm at the point now where I'm not ready to trust him to bounce back right now. I gave him a shot. He had a bullpen side session before that start against San Francisco, and it still didn't matter. And he's very, very fortunate that the Arizona bats bailed him out. I was still able to cash that underdog winner with Arizona in that game 6-2, but it wasn't because of Shelby Miller. That's for sure. He did not pitch well. 8.31 ERA. For Miller on the season, not very good numbers in 4 starts whatsoever. So he's a guy that I've either bet against or I leave alone right now until he gets his command and control harnessed and back under control. And I'm not sure he's going to anytime soon. On the other side, you've got Carlos Martinez, who's going to be making his 4th start. He's made 3 already against Atlanta, Cincy, and the Cubs. Pretty good, 3 runs or less in all 3 of those starts in over 20 innings of work. Seems to be getting better with every start as well. 2.7 ERA on the season. You know, pretty good numbers as well against Arizona. Faced this team twice last year. 3 runs or less in both starts, spanning over 13 innings of work. St. Louis winning both of those games, going 2-0 in Martinez's starts against Arizona last year. Now, the one concern I would have in this game, Peter, is watch the bullpen scenario coming into this game. 2 overworked bullpens this weekend. 2 bullpens that are really fatigued going into the Monday night game of this series, and it's going to be interesting to see how much those bullpens are worked on Monday night, because if they're really taxed, and if you want to back the St. Louis side in particular, and that is the side I'm leaning with here, you may want to look at Martinez and the Cardinals on the 5-inning line here, because if that St. Louis bullpen is a little bit taxed tonight in that game to carry over from a weekend where they were really used heavily in that San Diego series, it may be more beneficial and a more positive expectation wager to look towards St. Louis on the 5-inning line as opposed to the full game. But either way, right now, St. Louis, maybe over the total in this game may also be worth a look, but St. Louis and maybe even their team total might be good ways to look at this game from a betting standpoint.
Yep, that's exactly how I was thinking as well. All right, well, I could ask you about every game on the upcoming card, but those are 3 of the most interesting ones. What else would you guys bring to our attention for the overnight lines for the games for Tuesday, April 26th?
Well, Oakland-Detroit's an interesting one because we should see some runs in that particular game. I would think we've got Rich Hill against Mike Pelfrey in that matchup Tuesday night. Mike Pelfrey, to me, 3.68 ERA. That's going to regress, and that's going to regress in a hurry, in my opinion. He's getting hit hard. Line drives being that just happen to be well positioned, and fielders in the outfield are catching them. But there's not a lot of pitches that are fooling opposing hitters right now from Mike Pelfrey. So even though his early numbers showed he was getting off to a decent start, I think regression is on the way for this guy. And that walk rate is absolutely a red flag to me. He's issued 13 walks, Mike Pelfrey, in his first 3 starts of the season. 12 walks, rather, compared to just 8 strikeouts. I mean, that's a ratio that is not going to set you up for long-term success. I think Mike Pelfrey Even though the Oakland lineup can be spotty at times, let's give Oakland's lineup a little bit of credit. They hit well against the Yankees. They had some pretty decent showings at the plate against Toronto as well. They're hitting a little bit better over the last 7 days or so, and I think they should be able to hit Mike Pelfrey a little bit in this game. Pelfrey really struggled in his previous starts against Oakland. And then you got Rich Hill, the veteran lefty, on the other side for Oakland, pitching in this game. And the Tigers have done very well against lefty pitching for years. They've got a lineup tailor-made to hit lefties pretty hard. 6.18 runs per game averaged by the Tigers against lefty pitching this season. So it should be a good matchup for them as well. Rich Hill, another guy, started out strong this season, but I think he's going to start to regress as well. Some of the peripheral numbers that I see from him are things that do concern me, even though his ERA is not so bad right now at 2.76. So I think we might see an over the total and some runs in that game. And another thing to watch out for, Kansas City and the LA Angels very quickly. A game right now that's priced near pick'em, pretty much even money, and I just don't understand it whatsoever. You got Jared Weaver, who's just completely hittable right now. I know he had a good start last time out against the White Sox, but there is a lot of scary things that I see for Jared Weaver right now. 3.12 ERA this season, but his FIP and his xFIP, they're around 5.75 and 6.23 respectively. That tells you that 3.12 ERA is absolutely unsustainable for Jared Weaver. How about a 25% ground ball rate? That's horrendous. I mean, he's just a fly ball machine right now. His swinging strike rate is as low as it's ever been in Jared Weaver's career. It was 10.1% in 2013, 9% in 2014, 8.3% last year. And this year, although it's only a month, his swinging strike rate is down to a career low 8.1%. I mean, he is just not missing many bats right now. The Kansas City lineup is disciplined. They're smart. They take pitches. They work counts. They put the ball in play. They could make life miserable here for Jared Weaver. And I know Edinson Volquez has had erratic issues in the past, but let's give Edinson Volquez some credit. He's pitching pretty solid so far early in the season here for the Kansas City Royals. You can't complain about what you've seen from him. Kansas City 3-0 in his starts this year, 1.93 ERA, 4 runs allowed in 18.2 innings over those 3 starts, 5 walks to 17 strikeouts for Volquez. Fantastic numbers. I think this price is cheap on the defending World Series champion Royals. We've talked about it in the past, Pete. Kansas City still not being priced like the World Series champions that they are, and that should provide value with Kansas City on Tuesday night.
Yeah, that line has actually gotten bet up a little bit since it opened. It opened at about pick'em, but now it's Casey's taken some money. It's about -110 to -117 market wide. But yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that one. Jared Weaver's fastball is slower than Noah Syndergaard's eephus pitch. What do you think about that baseball jockey?
85 miles an hour is as hard as he's throwing right now, Jared. It's awful. I mean, it's
all right. Thanks for your thoughts, Ian Cameron. Talk to you again tomorrow.